Hi expats, Nate here. In my life, in my expat lifestyle, I've met a lot of different kinds of expats. But there are certain personality types that seem to always present themselves. And in this video, I hope to help you by giving you the 5 types of expat personalities you don't want to adopt. These are the personality types that reflect negatively on you, but also can reflect negatively on people like me, because the exposure in a lot of these places to expats is relatively low, especially where I'm at now in Malaybalay City, Philippines. So the way you present yourself has a direct effect on people like me who come out here and don't have these personality types. Well, let's go ahead and get started with the 5 personality types that I've seen as an expat you don't want to adopt. Number 5, the complainer. This is the kind of expat who just is perpetually complaining about everything. We all knew these people in our home countries where no matter what was going on, they could find something to complain about. It's almost like how they connect or how they converse with others is just to complain, to gripe, to moan about whatever in that particular day or moment they don't like. You'll hear a lot of the guys here, they like to bring up the traffic. They like to complain about wherever they're at in another country, the cultural differences. They like to complain about the different food choices. When I was in Thailand, I'd hear these guys complain about the food being too spicy. In the Philippines, I hear them complain about the food not being to their liking or maybe the sanitary conditions. But wherever you go, these guys like to complain. So that's a personality you don't want to adopt in your new life. This is a time for change for you. This is a time for you to take all the things you didn't like about who you were in your last country, in your home nation, and change it to be the person you want to be the change you want to see in the world. So if you think the world is better off with people constantly complaining and basically bringing down the mood of everyone around them, well then you're wrong, and stay home. But if you're a guy who would like to change that part of yourself, keep a mindful eye on how much you're complaining and the things you say about where you're at. Number 4, I call this guy the only expat guy. The guy who maybe they have a local girlfriend, maybe they have a Filipino wife or girlfriend, but they never hang out with any Filipino dudes, and they don't really hang out with anybody that's not part of their expat community. And so when you go into town, these are the guys that you see, they kind of ignore when people say hello to them or wave at them. They don't do the things the locals do. So they won't eat local food. They think that I don't know what their thinking is. Maybe they think they're too good, or maybe they just want what they want because they're stuck in their ways. But these are the guys who won't try your local foods. They won't have your pork adobo. They won't have your samtam. They won't have any of it. They just want their American life or their foreign life here overseas. It's kind of like they try to create a mini America or mini Germany, mini Australia, mini Canada, wherever you're from. They try to create that here overseas. And don't get me wrong, I get it. Like, we all want some kind of comfort of being around people that are like us, people that understand us, people that have a similar background to us. But now you're in your new host country. You need to assimilate someone. Assimilate so that there's no time constraints, so you don't turn into the complainer guy. Oh, they're always late. Blah, blah, blah. Instead, assimilate to where you're at. Assimilate to the people. That doesn't mean you have to change everything who you are. It doesn't mean you have to be like the native guy, who wears all the local clothes, who only speaks in the local language and refuses to speak to any foreigners. And keep some of your good habits, right? So like, don't throw trash on the ground, keep not picking your nose in public. But you have to, in order to have a fulfilling experience as an expat, you're going to have to hang out with locals and not just the women fellows. Number 3, I call this guy the degenerate. Now, we all have some degenerate tendencies. I'm no better, I'm no different. But these are the guys who are almost their entire personality revolves around their degeneracy. These are what you would call your sexpats, alcoholics, dope addicts. These are the guys that's the main component of their personality. If you ask them to do anything and they can't have their beer, their dope, they don't want to do it. If you ask them to go to an event and there's going to be no women, they don't want to go. Their principal component of their personality is their degeneracy. This is super harmful for our reputation as expats, but also a lot really destructive to the guys who have this personality type. A lot of times they're the guys who join your Pattaya Flyers Club, where they're taking dives out of tall buildings. These are the guys that they end up dying early from health complications and health issues. And these guys, they don't last long. They don't last as long as they should in most cases. Granted, there's some 90-year-olds still kicking that are drinking and boozing and womanizing, but they're the exception, not the rule. And also, these are the guys that they don't have the ability to have like regular or positive social interactions with others. They're so revolved around their degeneracy that when you take them out in public, they'll leer at women, they'll say inappropriate things like how much. They're not concerned with any kind of social norms, they're just concerned with like fulfilling their base carnal desires. So don't become the degenerate as your personality type. Granted, we all have our degenerate moments, but don't make that your personality as an expat, because there's a lot of guys out here like that. Number 2, I call this guy the nasty foreigner. This is the guy that when they're traveling on public transportations, the locals cover their nose or they take out their little smell good sticks and are smelling them. These are the guys, they don't shower appropriately. And as a foreigner, when you come to these tropical countries, you will have to shower more often, right? So usually I take one shower in the morning, one shower after the gym, and then if I go out and do an activity, I take a third shower when I get home before I go to bed. So quite often you're going to be taking a minimum of 2 showers a day, but sometimes 3-4 times a day. That's the norm. Don't be the nasty foreigner. Don't let yourself stink. People here have very like strong senses of smell, which to me blows my mind, especially after you've tried fish or durian. These are also the guys that I call nasty foreigners. It's almost like they're either in perpetual vacation mode or they just don't care what anybody thinks at all of them anymore. They'll have like torn up shirts. They'll always, everywhere they go, even if it's to a nice function, they'll wear the Singha or Chang or San Miguel wife beaters or singlets, whatever you want to call them. They're consistently underdressed. When you see them, you might confuse them with a homeless person. They don't do like basic grooming of keeping their hair cut. Wearing, like you can see today, I went to a small event. I'm dressed just as good as the locals with my polo shirt, my shorts. So be careful, be cognizant. The way you dress can be perceived by others as you being a nasty foreigner. And then as a final thought on the nasty foreigner it's just basic manners, right? So you go to a lot of these countries, something that's common that you'll see is like people picking their nose on the train or while they're sitting down. But what I'm getting more to is the manners that are expected from the local people. You know, here in the Philippines, they eat with their hands. To us, that would be considered, barbaric, but it's not. It's just part of the way they do things. But some of the manners you're going to have is that nasty foreigner of spitting on the ground. I'm guilty of this. Sometimes I get in an area with a lot of pollution, and I just have a tendency to spit. That's a big no-no in a lot of places. Basically, if you could take your manners from home and keep that, and then also adopt the little nuances and manners of the local culture and add that to your repertoire, you're not going to be a nasty foreigner. Number 1, I call this guy the Delusional Chickboy. So this is the kind of guy that you often hear talk about their sexual market value, their high value status as a man here in the Philippines and Southeast Asia in general, or even Eastern Europe. Now I know what you guys are getting a couple people coming to your mind. Probably a couple YouTubers, probably a couple guys that you've seen on message board forums and things of that nature, but these guys become delusional and they start blaming the West for them being kind of a loser back at home. Well, yeah, I would agree that there's things that I don't find agreeable with the culture that's kind of came up over the last 40, 50 years in America. I know that when I came over here, I didn't change. Granted, I've gotten healthier, I've lost some weight, things of that nature, but overall, I'm the same exact guy when I came over here as I was at home. It's just I'm in a different place now, so I'm given like an elevated status for nothing that is my own doing. It's literally only because the people that came before me that are like me, the media representation of people like me, my financial status. I make less now than when I was in the United States, yet financially I'm in an elevated status. It's not because of me. I didn't become some God's gift to women. I just move locations. So a lot of these guys with this delusional chick boy attitude, you'll hear them use I would say it was like 1990s or early 2000 pickup artist terminology, where they think their IQ is very high because they listen to a lot of podcasts on picking up women. They have like very elevated sense of self, which yeah, it's good to have self-esteem, but here you're kind of getting participation trophies, right? When you come over here, just the fact that you're here and you had an American income and your skin's very white, and you have a certain mannerism about you that's more dominant, you're getting your participation trophy by being here. It's not because you're some awesome kind of dude. And one of the ways that this is kind of destructive is I see these guys become very, very bitter at their home countries. And it's from this perceived, kind of their thinking is, oh, they didn't value me. I've always been this high status, high value guy, but they didn't value me. Whereas in reality, they were actually just lower status in their host countries, and they're getting their participation trophy by being here overseas. So it fills them with like a kind of negativity and a kind of disdain for their home country, which actually gave them so much. I am under no delusion. While there's a lot I don't like about what's been going on in America, especially recently, I'm under no delusion that the only reason I can be here and doing what I do is because I grew up in America. It's because I had the access, the opportunity that my forefathers who'd been in America for generations and generations and generations, who built the country. I'm here because they allowed me. They made certain choices, and by the luck of the draw, I was born into their genetic lineage and given access to their choices as a beneficiary of that dynasty. Now, regardless of how cool of a guy or gal you are, you're going to have aspects of these things in your personality, right? We all complain. We all have some degenerate tendencies. We all get a little bit delusional about our romantic value while traveling overseas. There might be a day where you have to skip a shower, or you're not wearing your best clothes, you're wearing your ratty gym clothes, right? And I like hanging out with a lot of expats myself personally, but don't let these become principal components of your personality. When they come, you either indulge them minorly and then move on, but don't become one of these expats who make it their personality type. If that's a majority of who you are as one of these 5 people, you're doing not only yourself a disservice for the happiness of your own life, but you're just doing a disservice to people like me as well. because now they're seeing me in that light. You're doing a disservice to your host country's people because they have to deal with it, being a trash bag of a person. Hopefully you guys are awesome when you come out here, and see you guys later down the path.